Kellogg is a beautiful little town situated in northern Idaho. Like most small towns, it brings the visitor back many years. Life is simpler. You know everyone in town. Values and tradition maintain their importance. But also, like many other small towns, when the industry supporting the town begins to disappear, there is little hope of jobs, a living wage, educational opportunities, and affordable health care. Poverty can set in, causing a tidal wave of problems to arise. In this project, we started with the intention of examining Kellogg, Idaho to see what its needs truly are and what could bring hope to a community seemingly forgotten. According to citydata.com, Kellogg, Idaho has a population of just 2,117 people as of 2013. The population continues to shrink, falling by 11.6 since the year 2000. Like many small towns, the crime rate is less than the average. Murder, rape, and robbery is unheard of, with years passing between these events, with less than one such event each year. The most common crime is theft, with the average amount of thefts from 2001 to 2011 being 52 a year. This lack of crime might lead one to believe that this town must be doing well. After all, crime tends to be associated with poverty and other socioeconomic indicators. But this town has little to offer individuals and their families. The estimated per capita income in Kellogg is only $19,582 per year, with the average family making only $40,532 a year. Unemployment in Kellogg is at 7.7%, a full 171% higher than the Idaho national average rate for unemployment. Statistics do not always tell the full story. A windshield survey was needed to get a better grasp of Kellogg, Idaho on a more personable level. Fellow group member Autumn Oberdeen conducted a windshield survey to get a better idea of the makeup of Kellogg, Idaho, including socioeconomic factors such as race, healthcare, housing, availability of goods. The windshield survey of Kellogg revealed it to be mostly white, with some single-family homes, apartment complexes, and low-income housing. Public transportation is available and provided for free with the Silver Express, allowing community members to get around town. Churches dot the town with representation from the Lutheran, Catholic, and Baptist denominations. Kellogg does have a middle school and a high school, as well as a hospital and reduced-income clinic. Bars, churches, and the senior center are common meeting places for the town's residents, with community groups and associations like the Lions Club and Elks Club working to keep a sense of community by providing events such as health screenings and drug prevention programs for the youth. A basketball court, football field, public swimming pool, and Centennial Bike Trail are all available to the residents. Many of the business buildings are empty, suggesting that the economy in Kellogg is less than adequate. As a group, our literature review performed during this assessment was originally designed to look at the available literature on how youth activities in a community, such as volunteering, community service, and recreational activity opportunities could benefit the community, as well as the positive effects such opportunities can bring to a community and its youth. Fellow group member Connie Harding worked on identifying relevant literature and bringing relevant information to the table. The following is a discussion of the relevant literature on the subject. One such study, titled Volunteering and Community Service in Adolescence, published in Adolescent Medicine State-of-the-Art Reviews in October 2001 by Gabriel Coopermang and Phyllis Holditch, discusses the importance of volunteer and community service. This study discussed what made volunteer programs successful and the kind of responses, the kind of results you expect to see in these kind of successful youth programs that help kids to be able to get out and volunteer. Some of these things are things like reducing teen pregnancies, substance abuse, and failure with grades. The academic functions of these students actually improve. The study also stated that problem behaviors in children also could be linked back to lack of such opportunities. The structure provided in these projects and volunteer initiatives allowed these students to learn how to be structured, how to have initiative, how to have drive, how to help their community, and become more involved in general. On top of having these kids more involved in their community, it helped them to get a sense of identity, helped them to define a role for themselves in their community. The study mentioned that these can help reduce alienation and isolation that these students could possibly experience. Another study on the benefits of volunteer work titled Meaningful Involvement in Instrumental Activity and Well-Being, Studies of Older Adolescents at Risk and Urban Teenagers, published in the American Journal of Communication Psychology, defined meaningful activity as a task or skill-related activity which has positive significance or value to the individual involved. In essence, this means that these activities must have good, deep meaning to the youth. Youth who involve themselves in these activities have higher self-esteem, higher knowledge of issues in social issues, development of social skills. Adolescents that are more aware of what is affecting their community and the factors influencing it are more likely to stay in that community and help it rather than move away. The study went on to postulate that adolescents that volunteer could even have higher cognitive developmental benefits from participating in such activities. Another study by Niemi Hegburn, entitled Community Service by High School Students, A Cure for Civil Political Ills, published in Political Behavior in 2000, found that regular participation in community service was positively associated with political knowledge and efficacy. The study suggested that community service activities be made part of school curriculums. The study went on to say that community service in youth was a future indicator of one's ability to lead. This study also suggested that cognitive development was positively associated with community service as well as social skills. While volunteer experience is important, recreational activities are also just as important. In a recent paper published in the National Recreation and Park Association, titled The Rationale for Recreation Services for Youth, an Evidence-Based Approach, it was by Peter A. Witt and Linda L. Caldwell, it was found that have a strong need to better themselves, but often lack the ability to do that without outside help. The study mentions mentors that can help the youth develop into proper adults by helping role model proper behavior and educating the youth. The report goes on to mention the dangers of boredom and having nothing to do, citing it as the, quote, root cause of substance abuse. Increasing access to recreational activities will decrease the amount of time spent without anything to do in after-school time. By decreasing drug use and boredom, students will be allowed to have more time to work on their academic studies and have higher cognitive abilities to actually pass their academic goals. The study pointed out that the peak time for crimes in the teenage years is between 3 and 6 p.m. Students busy during these times having positive recreational activities are less likely to use drugs and commit crime. The study goes on to point out that youth and adolescents crave structure, and that it is, quote, key in designing recreational activities. An added bonus to this is that this also helped prevent childhood obesity, as it kept these children from having a sedentary lifestyle. In the end, the benefit to the community is higher academic performance, lower drug use, lower crime rate, and adolescents properly prepared for the future. To get an idea of the needs of the town through the eyes of its residents, Autumn administered a community assessment in Kellogg. These community assessments would allow for the group to objectively identify the needs of this community by giving them a voice. In total, 9 people gave consent and completed the survey. The first questions attempted to discover what made residents of Kellogg proudest of their community. The results showed that the residents felt a strong sense of kinship with their neighbors. A large portion of them also felt that their community did a great job of rallying together to help those in the community in need as a collective. This sense of community was pervasive in each and every response. When asked about the struggles facing the young in the community, the answer was split between lack of jobs and having nothing to do, with several commenting on the lack of educational opportunities as well. When you consider that the lack of jobs and educational opportunities both lead to having nothing to do, a strong theme becomes evident. Kellogg's biggest issue facing its youth is that there is nothing to do in that town. As the old adage goes, idle hands are the devil's playthings. This lack of responsibility and activities can lead to drug abuse, which was another big worry mentioned by those living in Kellogg. The third question asked residents how they think these struggles could be reduced. The answer to this question is almost a mirror of the problems facing the community. The community wants more things to do, more and better jobs, as well as educational opportunities available to them. When asked about what programs and activities are available for the youth, The answer was interesting because many different things were listed, even though the residents claimed that there was nothing to do. School sports was the most commonly mentioned, in total of 7 out of 9 respondents, with the public pool coming in second with 5 out of 9 mentioning it. The outdoor fitness center in town was also mentioned, as well as the skiing lodges available in winter, although concerns voiced in the survey suggested that residents of the town might not be able to afford to go skiing. It seemed that the available activities in Kellogg aren't just not enough to sustain the town. The answers begin to take a clear and concise response when residents were asked as to what kind of activities and programs they would like to see implemented. The answers to this question varied a bit, and our less detailed responses are given by most respondents. The theme was clear that a community center combined with a gym was requested. Several residents specifically mentioned that it could be modeled after the Kroc Center in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, while others mentioned the YMCA. Such a community center that met the health as well as social needs of the community was almost universally requested. Many in Kellogg do not believe anything is being done to address their issues. This answer was a bit depressing in some respects. Just under half the respondents stated that nothing was being done in the community to improve conditions, while others mentioned specific healthcare programs available to youth in school in the town, as well as local subsidized clinic that recently opened to help patients receive medical care. Given all the options in the town, it could be argued that part of the problem is a lack of awareness of available programs and events rather than an actual need. When asked what the community itself could do to improve the health and well-being of its residents, the answers were across the board, with answers ranging from repeating the need for a community center and gym to community activities to improving downtown businesses by fixing the old buildings and streets. It would seem many of the residents are not 100% sure what the fix is, although the clear leading answer is again the need for a community center and gym in Kellogg. One unfortunate theme is that none of the options included any form of community organizing. Rather than they always seem to always be directed at someone else. None of the answers stated anything like the community could come together and clean the streets or anything of the sort. These surveys provide vital insight into how the community in Kellogg sees itself as well as its needs. After discussing the results of the community survey among the group, it was determined that the most pressing need for this community is a gym with the functions of a community center. A place that offers a place to lift weights, run on a treadmill, relax in the sauna, play some tennis, meet up for a club meeting, or just meet with a mentor for help on some homework. Such a place could hold community events helping to bring the community together. A community center would be an expensive venture requiring the entire community to not only chip in, but require outside financial assistance. This could be pursued in one of 3 ways. 1, the community could inquire as to what funds the state government of Idaho has set aside to help improve communities in need. 2, Dave Smith, as a local business, which is prominent in Kellogg, Idaho, could be asked to get involved. This would in the end be helpful to Dave Smith, as it would help their image as a true part of the community, possibly even increasing their sales and boosting their profits in the long run. Another option would be to start a GoFundMe account for the town to help raise money towards the eventual complex of a community center. All 3 of these options combined would bring good results. If such a community center were to be completed in Kellogg, Idaho, the next step to be at some point after its construction, evaluate how effective the community center and gym had been in the community. One of the ways to measure that would be to administer the same survey again in the community, roughly 2 years later, to see how the answers have changed over time. Another way could be to measure historical rates of drug arrests and crimes such as theft to those after the community center's opening. A good time period for data collection of at least 2 years would be needed to ensure data saturation and accuracy. Another way would be to measure success would be to compare academic performance in high school students from historical records 2 years post-opening of the community center. Evaluating the construction of the community center using these methods would allow one to evaluate not only if the community center gave Kellogg residents something to do, but to further validate information in the literature review discussing the importance of mentoring and providing opportunities for activities for adolescents.